Well, hi, thank you so much for joining me, and I so wish that I could be with you right now, but sadly schedules got in the way of it. But I just want to begin by thanking you, specifically thank you not just for being here, but also thank you for watching me via video. And what I want to do, if it's okay with you, is rather than sort of dance around a stage or whatever, I want to make this as intimate as we can by showing you some things right here as we go through on my laptop right here. To put that another way, up on your screen you'll see, to build a business that matters. Another way of saying that is to build a business with purpose. The first element of becoming a firm of now. And you're going to see why in a moment this is so crucial. Another way of putting that is not just to build a business with purpose, but to build a business that's very clear on its why. In just a moment or two, you're going to hear that differentiation, which of course is what we all want to do. There are just thousands of firms, aren't there? And we're all trying to differentiate. We think it's about what we do, but what we're going to find out is that differentiation, listen to this and even take a note of it, differentiation comes from clarity of why, not from excess of what. Now that may seem like a strange thing to say, but here's the guy who really has been saying that since 2009. He's a friend of mine. You'll get to meet him specifically in just a moment, and that's Simon Sinek. Now, many of you probably know Simon from his book, which is called Start With Why. By the way, don't rush out and get it. It came out in 2009. Rather, do go and watch his 18-minute and 1-second TED Talk. Already 32 million people have watched that TEDx talk, and I'm certain that those of you in the room that already have watched it will say it's one of the most important 18 minutes and 1 second that you have ever watched. If you haven't watched it, go to that link that you'll see at the bottom of your screen there, bit.ly/Simon@TED. Take a note of that and make sure that you watch that before you go to bed tonight. You'll be so thrilled that you did. Now, throughout that 18 minutes and 1 second, there's some particular mantras, some particular phrases that Simon hammers at time and time again. You'll see them on the top of your left-hand side there of your screen. People do not buy what you do. They buy why you do what you do. Now, I understand that you might doubt that right now, that you don't want to jump up necessarily and say, oh my gosh, that's the most exciting thing I've ever heard. I understand you seriously might doubt that. But let's just imagine for the moment, just come with me, and imagine that that might be true. By the way, it is true. But just imagine that it's true. Then if that were true, people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do what you do. Then just ask yourself this question. What should we be seeing on your website? And for that matter, the website of everyone else as well. You're right. We should be seeing why you do what you do. Not you, of course you see what, but what we should be seeing is why. Take a look at the next one. And as an introduction to that next one, let me ask you to consider whether any of you, maybe the person sitting next to you, if not you, whether you have any clients you wish you didn't have. In fact, just to get some interaction, go ahead, put up your hand if you do have clients that you wish you didn't have. Interesting, isn't it? The question is why? Well, we're going to get to that right now, but let's have a look at this. People do not buy what you do. They buy what you believe in. And again, if that's true, then we need to have that up on our site, what it is that we believe in. Let me show you why. Here's something else that Simon says, and he says it very well. The goal is not to deal with everyone who might need your product or service. It is to deal with those who believe what you believe. Once again, the goal is not to deal with everyone. It's to deal with those who believe what you believe. Clearly then, for that to happen, we need to be talking about what it is that we believe. And by the way, one thing you might want to write down is this. You see coming onto your screen right there, SIWISNT. You might want to write down what it stands for. There are two things that it stands for. First one is this. Success is who I say no to. And the second one is success is what I say no to. Interesting to contemplate the impact of those things. But let's take this a little bit further, because in a moment, we're going to actually get to define your why. But ahead of that, let's just finish with some things with Simon here. He says, your why must be front and center. And then this, which is what I said to you before, is this one. Please make sure you write it down, because it is central to becoming a firm of now. Differentiation comes from clarity of why, not from excess of what. That's why this purpose step is the most important. Now, in a moment, we are going to get to define your why. But before we do, I've been searching for years to come up with something that really defines the difference between an organization that has a why and an organization that doesn't. And I found it in this video right here, which we're going to watch in just a second or two. Just before we watch it, let me frame it for you. Standing there on a stage in front of 5,500 people is a comedian. You may know him. He's a famous comedian in the US. His name is Richard Jr. And here he is talking to an audience, not about comedic things, but about the difference between why and what. And what he says is, let me tell you a little bit about what I do. He says, I travel the country and I do these 90-minute shows, but right in the middle of those shows, I stop and I just find someone in the audience. And he says, when I find that person in the audience, funny always happens. But in this case, something more than funny happened. Just before we press the button, I want you to perhaps acknowledge to the person next to you, or maybe with your hand, if you know the song, Amazing Grace. If you do, you're going to watch this video and you are going to remember for the rest of your life the difference between having a why and not having one. Come with me, let's watch Richard Jr.
Or I'll meet somebody who's really interesting. So I met this one guy, and he said that he teaches music at a school. I was like, all right, you teach music, can you sing? And then I'm just going to show you the clip. Check it. So you're a musical director. Cool.
Yes, sir.
All right, so let me get a couple bars of like Amazing Grace. Can you do the first part of that? Go ahead.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me.
All right. Now, what you give me the version is if your uncle just got out of jail, you got shot in the back when you was a kid. I'm just saying, let me see the hood version real quick, if you know which version I'm talking about. Just see if that exists. Let me see what you got.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. Found, was blind, but now I see.
Let's go. Now, that's what I'm saying. Oh, goodness gracious. So here's the thing. The first time I asked him to sing, he knew what he was doing. The second time I asked him to sing, he knew why he was doing it. When you know your why, your what has more impact because you're walking in or towards your purpose.
Now that really is and was amazing, wasn't it? Now let me see the hood version. And what you see is just an enormous difference between, in your firm, for example, walking in the morning knowing what you're doing and the difference between knowing why. It really is, from that video, hopefully, so clear. So let's see if we can build on that. And first of all, let me just summarize what Richard Jr. said. You can see it up on your screen here. When you know your why, your purpose, your what has much more impact. It's almost like inside of us we have this magnet, and it's an electromagnet. And when you get your why, which you'll get in a minute, it sort of switches it on, and everything you do becomes so much more compelling and so much more attractive to those around you, to your team and to your customers and clients as well. When you know, as we say on the screen there, how to clearly articulate your why, what you do and how you do it become profoundly, and it is profound, profoundly more attractive and compelling. And then differentiation, once again, comes from clarity of why, not from excess of what. And so we need to thank Simon Sinek for that. And you are going to see him in a very interesting way in just a moment or two. But ahead of that, let's just recap. People do not buy what you do. They buy why you do what you do. People do not buy what you do. They buy what you believe in. I hope you've got those two things etched on your forehead almost, if you will. And once again, your why must be front and center. And again, differentiation comes from clarity of why, not from excess of what. But let me show you the impact of someone who is doing it. This is a relatively tiny accounting firm in a tiny little country town in Australia. You can see they're there. They're part of B1G1, Business for Good, which is one of the things that I do. We might even get to talk about that later. And right in the middle of it, you'll see their why. Look at this. We get up every morning to positively impact the lives of young families in business. Now, just before we go ahead on this and before we look at it any deeper, notice one thing. Who do they want to read this? They're very clear. Or not just read it, but who do they want to react to it? Young families in business. And they don't care if people that are not young families in business don't respond to this. They're very, very, very specific. So, and by the way, their phone rings off the hook and their website gets so many hits because of this. The lives of young families in business by making their businesses really work. The rewards that brings allow our team, the Fantastic Four, to make small but powerful contributions. Now, I'm going to slow down here. To impact our local community, our country, and the lives of those less fortunate around the world. Chris Becks. Now, I hope you can see that's in a sense, that's what Chris believes in. And others who believe in that are going to be attracted to that. That's switching on that electromagnet. Now, this is a work in progress. And so here's another version of it, a little more later. We get up every morning to positively impact young families in business by making their businesses really work so that we all make an even bigger impact together. Now, the thing I want you to notice on that are the words "so that." We're going to come back and have a look at it in just a moment. The rewards that brings allow our team, well, that's kind of like what it was before. So the crucial thing there is really work so that we all make an even bigger impact together. Now, I'm going to show you why that "so that" is so important. Let's say you had a template for defining your why. And by the way, that's not a good idea. It's got to come from here. But what you hear is often you hear people say, oh, well, you know, I get up every morning to make a difference. My response to that is why. And it changes when you say things like, well, let me give you a specific example. Here's a woman who owns an accounting firm. And what she said was this: I get up every morning to be a great example to my children. Now, on the face of it, that sounds kind of interesting, but have a look at how that comes alive when we put the words "so that" on the end of it. I get up, every morning to be a great example to my children so that they, in turn, can inspire the kids that they interact with during the day so that together we really have a better chance of making a dent in our universe. All of a sudden you understand that the "so that" becomes bigger than you. So for example, to go back to this template right here, we get up every morning to transform our clients' businesses so that together we build businesses that matter. We make a huge difference in our community and a huge impact in our world. Now that's a template. Yours is going to be different than that, and Rob's going to show you some of those in just a moment. But ahead of that, this guy on the left of your screen, you can see, this is Simon Sinek. Now, it turns out that just about 3 weeks ago, we had one of our first conferences, that is in Buy One, Give One. We called it the 100 Million Impact Conference because of the 100 million impacts that have been made in Buy One, Give One. And we asked Simon, because he's a friend, to come along. He said, Paul, and by the way, this conference was in Bali. And we said, Simon, we'd love you to come. He said, Paul, have you checked out how far it is from New York to Bali? I said, yes, I know it well. It's 31 hours on a plane. He said, yeah, but that's just one way. And apart from that, on the 2nd of July, which is when we wanted Simon to be there, I've actually got a very full schedule. So how about we do a special recording? And we did. And this recording is just magical. I want you to listen in, because this is going to really solidify the learning in this most important part of building a firm of now. Come with me and enjoy Simon Sinek.
Friends, right? That's called addiction. So this is the biggest challenge companies have today. They've got to embrace new ideas of how to build businesses.
Is that one of the reasons why this, purpose, if you will, becomes so important now? Because when I'm on purpose and when the environment in which I'm in, when the ecosystem in which I'm in is a purposeful, meaningful, all of that kind of stuff driven, then that is a place where I want to be. Is that what you're saying?
The answer is a loose yes, but kids these days want to work for a company with purpose. So companies say we're trying to make the world a better place. Like, I've never heard a senior executive ever in my life say that people aren't important, and yet how come they prioritize numbers over people?
Yeah.
So it's a lot of it is window dressing. True purpose is always human. True purpose is the idea of knowing why your business exists in terms beyond your products and services. That the infinite goal that you set is something that will leave this world, this place, the people in it, in better shape than we found them. And even though companies can sell the same product at similar prices, the ones that have a sense of higher cause or belief are the ones that will attract people with shared common values and shared beliefs. And that's, at the end of the day, the company is the modern tribe. Why should I join your tribe? I want to feel that you stand for something. I want to feel that the people in the tribe care about each other. I want to feel that the alphas, that the leaders in that tribe want to devote themselves to the care and the advancement of their tribe, not just how much food they can hunt for on a daily basis.
We got some people who knew that we were going to get together, and they gave us some questions. You okay if I just...
Absolutely.
So this is from Leanne, and she says, what are your top 3 tips for conveying your why to new team members? That you're going to have some fun with that one.
Well, first you have to know what it is. So we keep hearing about the importance of stories, right? What's your story? How to tell your story. There's an entire industry of storytelling now.
There is, yeah.
The story per se is not the thing, right? The story is the means to tell the why. Because whys are often future-oriented or abstract, we can rely on metaphor and analogy to help us communicate what we're trying to say, right? Because otherwise it sounds... So if I were to say to you, sort of, the reason I do what I do is because I believe in the importance of exploration and the vital importance of keeping the human mind active and always looking for new things. And you're like, okay, I think I know what you mean. And I actually heard a guy give the speech. He was given an award, and he said, why I get out of bed in the morning is because I see myself as Indiana Jones. And he says, that's who I am, right? And every day is an adventure. And that's why I do it. And you're like, he used a fictional character to illustrate what he meant. So in other words, something we can latch onto. We're very tangibly driven animals. We're no good with the abstract. So very often whys become weirdly abstract.
Yeah, they do, don't they? Yeah.
That's why a vision statement is important, because a vision has to be something you can see. It's why it's called vision, see, right? So you could, that's why my vision. So I tell you my why. My why is to inspire people to do the things that inspire them. Sounds good, I guess. But my vision, in other words, based on my why, I can imagine what the world would look like if everything goes perfectly, right? And my why, my vision rather, is to inspire people. Sorry, my vision is to create a world in which the vast majority of people wake up every single morning inspired to go to work, feel safe when they're there, and return home at the end of the day fulfilled by the work that they do. That's the world I want to build, right? Now, it's based on my why, but my why is too abstract, too ethereal. But when I say that, people go, oh, I'd like to live in that world too. How can I help you build that, right? So one, you have to know what it is, and two, you have to have the means to communicate it in terms that they can see, right? And the third one is you repeat it over and over and over and over and over. You hang pictures of it on the wall. You put pictures of Indiana Jones on the wall. You put words on the wall. On my mirror, it says, today you will inspire someone. That's what it says on my bathroom mirror, right? In my handwriting. And I'm surrounded, I can't, so if you were to walk into this office, you would have a sense of it before you show up in the conference room, before the new hires hear it, and then you'll hear it every single day. You're going to start meetings with it. You're going to talk about it. You're going to talk about how you advance it. You're going to develop new metrics for it. So repetition matters a lot.